Ukraine, a nation caught in the throes of conflict, faces an uncertain future. This land, rich in history and culture, now stands at a crossroads, with its destiny hanging in the balance. In this video, we'll delve into the complexities of the Ukrainian crisis, exploring the key players, the underlying causes, and the profound implications. Today, we explore possible scenarios for how the war might conclude, based on current geopolitical trends and historical precedents. The war in Ukraine, sparked by territorial disputes and geopolitical tensions, has drawn international attention and involvement. It all started when Ukraine, a former Soviet republic, sought to distance itself from Russia and move closer to the West. This ignited a series of events, from the annexation of Crimea to the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. The war has since evolved, fueled by political maneuverings and military engagements. Understanding the roots and the progression of this conflict is key to envisioning its possible resolutions. The most hopeful outcome is a diplomatic resolution. This path, while challenging, offers a chance to rebuild and heal. Picture a round table where representatives from Ukraine, Russia, and other mediating nations sit together, not as adversaries, but as architects of peace. They would negotiate, deliberate, and ultimately strive to find a middle ground that respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations involved. This diplomatic solution would not be an easy one. It would demand a great deal of patience, understanding, and willingness to compromise. It would require acknowledging past wrongs, setting aside political ambitions, and prioritizing the greater good. Security guarantees might be a part of the deal, ensuring Ukraine's protection from future conflicts. Concessions in other areas might also be necessary, with all sides giving a little to gain a lot. Peace. This scenario would require compromises from all sides and possibly involve security guarantees for Ukraine and concessions in other areas. A less optimistic but plausible scenario is the continuation of conflict. Imagine a scenario where neither side can claim clear victories or reach compromises. The war continues, becoming a protracted struggle. The front lines shift like sand in the wind, with control of territories oscillating between opposing forces. The human toll is immeasurable, lives uprooted, families torn apart, and the fabric of society fraying at the seams. The economic impact is equally devastating, with Ukraine's infrastructure crumbling and its economy teetering on the brink. The international community responds with a mix of sanctions aimed at halting aggression and aid to alleviate the suffering of the Ukrainian people. Yet these measures, while necessary, are not a panacea. They cannot end the conflict, only mitigate its effects. In this scenario, the war becomes a part of everyday life, a grim reality that the Ukrainian people must endure. International sanctions and aid continue, but peace remains elusive. Escalation is a scenario everyone hopes to avoid, but it's a potential reality that cannot be ignored. In this scenario, the conflict in Ukraine could potentially spiral out of its current confines, drawing in more global powers and morphing into a broader international dispute. This could happen if NATO or other international forces decide to increase their involvement beyond economic sanctions and diplomatic pressures. This kind of escalation would not only exacerbate the suffering and instability in Ukraine, but it could also have a ripple effect across the globe, affecting economies, security, and international relations far beyond the immediate region. It could also lead to a shift in the balance of power, as alliances are tested and new ones possibly formed. Such a scenario would demand swift and decisive action from the international community to prevent a full-blown global crisis. This outcome could drastically change the geopolitical landscape. Another possibility is the fragmentation of Ukraine. The intense pressures of conflict, coupled with diverging political and social ideologies, could potentially push different regions of the country towards seeking autonomy. Imagine a map of Ukraine, not as a unified whole, but a patchwork of regions, each with its own distinct identity and allegiance. This fragmentation might not be solely geographical, but could also extend to the very fabric of Ukrainian society, creating divisions along ethnic, linguistic, or political lines. Such a scenario, while it might bring temporary respite from conflict for some regions, carries with it a host of potential complications. It could lead to a surge in displaced populations, cause economic instability, or even ignite new conflicts over resources. Moreover, the fragmentation of Ukraine could reshape the regional stability, potentially setting a precedent for other nations facing similar tensions. This outcome could have long-term implications for regional stability and identity. While the future remains uncertain, the path to peace lies in understanding, diplomacy, and the unwavering support for the rights and aspirations of the Ukrainian people. We've explored multiple possibilities, each with its own implications and challenges. But regardless of the outcome, it's crucial to remember that at the heart of this conflict are real people with real lives, hopes, and dreams. We, as global citizens, have a role to play. We can lend support to humanitarian efforts aiding those affected by the conflict. We can raise our voices and use our platforms to advocate for peace. We can stay informed, educate others, and never let the plight of Ukraine fade into the background of our collective consciousness. The journey ahead may be fraught with difficulty, but with resilience, empathy, and a united commitment to peace, a better future is possible. As the world watches and supports, it's crucial to advocate for a resolution that brings lasting peace and respects the sovereignty of nations.